You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to The Spectral Zone with host Kaz Rooney.
Good evening everyone and welcome to the Spectral Zone on Parasearch Radio. I am Kaz Rooney and tonight we have a great show lined up for you. I am being joined tonight by Bear Medicine Walker. Hello Bear.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm great, how are you?
I am well.
And you're all the way in Michigan, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a long trip to get over to here and talk with you right now, you know?
Yeah, I know, thank goodness for Skype. And I'm also being joined by the lovely Jamie Krashner. Hello, Jamie.
Hello, thank you for inviting me on your show.
I'm so happy to have you on the show. You're in Pittsburgh.
Yes, I am in Pittsburgh, and also quite a distance from you.
Thank goodness for Skype.
We did the Uber drive over and shared the cost.
75 years old, it will be paid off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thing is, ladies, we're talking about good versus evil tonight. Now, there's a loaded subject.
Yeah, I don't know why people think it's a loaded subject, but, you
Well,
know,
apparently
hey,
they
I
do.
guess, right?
Yeah, I think it's
Apparently
as
they
old as
do.
there's no getting around good or evil. So let's do it.
Right, let's go back. Let's go right back. Let's start at the kind of beginning.
Start at the very beginning.
Oh my goodness, who's going to have a Sound of Music moment?
You're the one that said it. You said
Now it's in my head. I just see children bobbing up and down.
Yeah, we're just going to have Jamie sing to you. No, we're not.
I don't want that.
Right, right. It's probably not the most popular way to go, but let's go with religion.
Oh,
Oh my.
Oh my. So we have this imagery, don't we? We have God is good and the devil is evil.
Oh, that's a sticky subject.
Yeah, go for
I
it,
don't
Jamie.
know how many of your folks know. I think that most of them just understand that I have a lot of education in theology, Christianity especially, but I am not actually a practicing Christian. I am a theist. I believe that God or one greater than us exists, but the current climate of Christianity is just more than my heart and soul can carry, and that's not a label that I'll accept. So when you hear people speaking about how good fundamentally God is and how bad the devil is, they've lost all sight that according to the Bible and theology, what's considered the devil or Lucifer or this angel was, just as grand and glorious as God was portrayed to be. And you have people that believe, oh, well, God is deceitful, and he betrayed Lucifer and created everything that's evil. So how can God be good when he created the most evil entity that anyone can ever think of? They think was the most evil thing. Well, that was Satan. And you're like, well, if God is good, how could he create Satan? And God betrayed Lucifer. And he cast him out and he set him up. There's a lot of theories about that. So, people have a very narrow image. They think God is good and white and bright and holy and happy. And they totally negate the fact that God in the Bible has horrific rage and anger issues and envy and, a heart for destroying what he doesn't like, whether it be women from his garden or, God is not the most friendly character that's ever been painted. So my views are just different on that.
So if we look at it from, okay, Bear, I'll go to you. Right, you look at it. A child is born, okay? They have no concept of good or evil. Or do they?
Okay, well, first of all, before we get into that, I got to go back to the fact that I think a lot of the problem that people have nowadays is more so the man in religion. So I understand what Jamie's saying 100%. Because it's the man in religion that has made it so screwed up as of late. Secondly, I look at the Bible as a teaching tool. It also has been, and again, Jamie, you're absolutely right with that too, where people are like, oh, the Bible says this and the Bible says that. Well, yeah, if you look at how it's been, interpreted over the centuries and centuries that it's existed, again, it was the man in religion that wrote the interpretation. So, if you go back to the original scrolls, and I actually have a very good friend who has gone and studied all this stuff and for years. And Kathleen McGowan wrote books, and she's been, studied for years and years. And she writes fiction based on history because she has to write it that way because people attack her. But what it is people have changed history in accordance to who's in power. Okay.
Yeah,
so when I look at the Bible, I look at the Bible as a teaching tool, and there's no insult meant to anybody. That's just how I view it, in my opinion. So now when you go to children are born. You said, I'm sorry, rephrase that one more time, because I got lost in my own
Children
head.
are born, when they're born, they're completely, they're completely innocent. They're a blank slate. They don't know good and evil and what's good, what's bad, what you should do, what you shouldn't do.
Well, I think that goes to the basic sentiment of that, because babies are born and they don't know a whole lot. However, there's so much there that we do not know about the human mind. I don't really think that anybody can, people can say what they want to say, but I really do believe it's opinion. I even think many of the studies that are out there about the human mind and psychology, because that's what I majored in, are also subject to change, everything that comes out, I've seen little babies, like 1-year-olds, that are absolutely, and people are going to stone me for this, but they're horrid. They're little snot balls. And it's like, where are they getting this? And it's not from home. Right. It's not from their families, because I've known their families. So, again, I think that's like something you can have an opinion on it, but I can't really honestly say one way or another truth, Well,
then we're getting into brain science. That is, people have different brains, and it, changes their behavior. And there's no logical reason for a 1-year-old child to be, to be so horrific and vile, unless it's a brain chemistry issue. And so then for me, that reverts back to, okay, is this a medical issue, a developmental issue, because without the ability to communicate in whatever spoken language you have at that age or anything, like what can influence you? And then you get into other factors like, well, or is this an abused child, or they, is this how they're manifesting that they're hurting, or that, their brain isn't functioning or their body isn't functioning. So for me, that's more medicine.
This is the thing.
Medicine thing. This
is the thing, Jamie. I mean, we're coming from totally different cultures.
Sure.
You ladies are in the USA. I'm in the UK. So we're all taught very different ways of looking at this. But I mean, from my perspective, from being a child, you're taught that certain things are good and certain things are bad.
Yes.
Going to church is good. Not going to church is bad. That's the way that kind of works. Yeah, that religion thing.
Yeah.
It didn't really touch me, to be fair. To be honest, it really didn't touch me. But we have that... Society puts that pressure on what is acceptable, what isn't acceptable, what is good, what is evil. So society tends to train us into thinking the way they want us to think, don't you think?
Definitely. We're all conditioned and influenced by, the people around us. My upbringing was a little unusual because I was influenced by Judeo-Christians and then people who had a lot of very strong Native American beliefs and beliefs in the occult. So when you kind of grow up in that household, a lot of different things are more loosely interpreted, and everything is kind of governed by symbolism. But you're right that there's a lot where people just think, okay, this is fundamentally bad and this is fundamentally good. And it all just really funnels back to what people are, I'll say indoctrinate. I wanted to say brainwash, but I'll avoid that term because I don't want to be saying that.
But it is a kind of brainwashing, isn't it?
It is. Well, it's who you're living with. It's who you brought up with. It's who you're nurture versus nature. That goes back into psychology again,
Yeah, and the indoctrination can be just brutal. I mean, I just remember meeting other kids when I was young and able to socialize, and they were so just timid, in their little white lace dresses. I'm going to mass and communion, and they're they were just fearful, terrified little girls. And meanwhile, I'm wild hair and running and talking about the spirit and what I'm feeling and seeing. And they're like, what the hell is wrong with you? Who's raising you? And I'm looking at them they're so, we were 6 years old and they were so bound and repressed. And every one of those girls that I can remember, they're crazy as crackers right now. I mean, just not happy, liberated, powerful women. Women are super powerful. These women are using just a fraction of their potential because they were all stunted by indoctrination.
Yeah, but that's not true. I will say this, and I respect where you're coming from, and I get it, but I grew up I was adopted when I was 7 months old, and I grew up in a Roman Catholic household. The family, in the 60s, and the family went to church every Sunday, and we had priests over for, dinner and stuff like that, and I went to an all-girls high school, and it was Catholic, and you know what? Those were some of the strongest women I've ever met. And I can guarantee you that even the ones I know today, if we didn't believe it, we just said we didn't believe it. If we had a different point of view, we discussed it. We brought it out. So I believe it depends. Again, that goes back to like what you were saying, how they're brought up.
Yeah.
Because I don't necessarily think it's Kaz, it's religion. Although in some cases it might be that environment that's, you're brought up in. But that's, I think if a person, okay, this is kind of like when people have abuse early in their life, or they were sexually assaulted, or they were robbed, or whatever. Okay, it can define you, or it can be part of you.
Sure.
And you can define your own parameters. And I have always been of that belief system. And it always drives me crazy when people allow it to define them for their entire life.
Sure.
It's like, okay.
I can understand that, yeah.
Get help. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
right.
look at religion or environment, this is, our lives are based on choice. So like, when you're saying, Kaz, kids come into this world, yep, we're all born with one thing, and that's choice. The ability to choose our own paths.
Yeah.
So, are you a sheep, or are you, the shepherd?
Right.
This is
Or
the thing. Did you both feel, I mean, given that we have free will, as Bear said, you've been brought up in a Roman Catholic household, so was I. Jamie, did you both feel that because you saw things differently, you didn't fit in? With other kids, I mean, like...
For me, it was a big cultural thing because I was born right at the end of the 60s. And so it's a subject that I delve into because it's just so inflammatory. But during, both of you, pretty much from what I understand, are both considered or would be viewed as like white Anglo-Saxon Protestant kind of.
Nope.
Okay, well, I don't.
Okay.
No, I'm not jumping down your throat, Bear. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying I'm not white. So, yeah.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not white either, but you can tell that when you look at me. you know that I'm multi-ethnic. Most people, and I've just seen you just briefly, and I don't make big assumptions about people, but when you are perceived, and I have this in my family, I have people that are perceived as white people and they do just fine. And because other people don't look and see a difference. But, with me, there was a difference because I grew up in an area where there were mostly all people that they were not of color. Mm-hmm. So for me, of course, so that was an influencer for me because I couldn't conceal that I was a multi-ethnic person in an all-white culture. Do you know what I mean? So yes, of course, I felt different. It could have been just because of that. So with that, I'll let it go.
What about
I
you, Bear?
understand that that's the way a lot of people feel. But the places I've worked and the things I've done, and I have always. I guess maybe I'm unique. I don't know as far as what I've experienced or wanted to experience, even as I was growing up, raised in a primarily Black community. But I didn't really pay attention to that when I was younger. They were just people. Seriously, they were. And you can say bunk in your mind or not, but I really didn't look at people like that. And I was always perceived different because I've been able to see spirits since I was a kid. So, and I was part Native American. So, but I've always been inclusive. And when I worked at the Detroit Medical Center, I had friends from India. I had friends from Russia. I had friends from the Middle East, so our house, and the way my mom brought us up, was Heinz 57. Everybody was inclusive in our house, so I really didn't see that. Now, coming up during the Detroit riots, I saw evil, but it was men that were evil. I didn't again, blame that on God, because men have choice and free will. Humans do what they want to do for whatever their reason that they do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can't say I haven't seen a lot of negative things or humans behaving badly, as I like to put it. But I don't really blame that on anybody except people that need to take responsibility for their own choices. Does that make sense?
Let's look at it from...
Well, do you do that when you're a child? You have...
That's the way I was taught,
accountability.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, children they have to learn to, bear their responsibilities. But really, children are influenced by the adults around them. And they absolutely carry the biases of their family and their environment around them. So, I mean, I think you can learn to be more accountable and make up your own mind, not as a little kid. I don't know. That's just me.
This is the thing. There's a kind of weird setup in my house, which is basically my 5 children, have the freedom to be who they want to be.
I love that.
But if you mess up, it's on you. You have to be accountable for that. I'm not going to be responsible for that.
Oh, for sure.
My children are older. Now they're 24, 20, 19, 16 and 15. So they're a bit older. But I have this thing in my house where you can be whatever you want to be. I have one that's a paranormal investigator. I have 2 that are Wiccan. I have one who is what I call my logical thinker, and I have one who's just sensitive. So they're all going in different directions and doing different things. That is absolutely fine. I have no problem with that. I'll help them with that. But if you mess up, that's on you. You need to own that. You need to take responsibility for that.
Oh, yeah, I fully agree with that. I'm not sure if I came across as saying that, children make up.
When they're little, yes, it's on the parents. It's on the parents when they're little.
It's on the parents to teach them.
Yes.
Because I look at my daughter, even like when she was like little, like when she was like even 3, I can think back to taking her, and she had choices, and this is your choices. Of course, I'm not going to beat her to death, but it's like you have to be responsible. Those are your choices. So if you want to take all those out and play, just remember, that's fine. But that means at the end of the time, when I tell you to clean up, it's you that's going to be putting them away, not me. Right. Or I'm going to take you to school and you have to go to preschool, and, you need to stay here and behave, If you want to cry and waste your first half hour there sitting crying, Mom's coming back later, so I'll be here to pick you up regardless. If you want to lose that time, that's up to you. Yeah. And she understood that. She got that. So, and she's 25 now, and she calls me to this day. Well, Mom, what should I do? I don't know. Do what it's your choice, not mine. Good, bad, and different. I'm not going to change I'm still going to love you. I might not like what you did, but I'm not going to kill you. So, I think that, again, it goes all back to choice. And many people in this crazy world we live in now, they don't want to take responsibility. Even as adults, like grown.
Yeah, we have people.
Yeah, we have a lot of people like that.
I woke up, so I'm equal to somebody that woke up and plowed 50 acres of land and tended their flock and, fed a nation. We're especially in America, we're like that. Oh, you get a participation award for doing the bare amount. And I don't agree with that. A lot of people do. And so
ladies, we actually have a question in the chat room.
Uh-oh, I'm scared now.
Yeah, you
Is
should
it Paul?
Be. No, it isn't. It's Ness.
Oh, that's just as bad.
Ness, she loves you really. Right. Ness Watts is asking, what are your views on demonic entities?
Oh, I'll let Bear go.
Yeah.
I have very strong views on that. I have
So do
very
I.
strong. Yep.
Okay, well, First of all, I can tell you that according to Hollywood and the entertainment industry, we all should be very scared because demons are around the corner everywhere we look. Not. And they've kind of created a falsehood. I do believe they do exist. I've come up against 3 in my lifetime working with various people and clients. And I had to turn to my elders to assist getting the people that had them attached to them, you know, fixed and worked with. But as far as like what Ness, if this is what she's referring to,
Yeah.
There's, you know, and you and I have had this conversation before, there's negative spirits and there's positive spirits. There's
Yes.
negative people and there's positive people. So if you were an ass in life, you're probably going to be an ass when you cross over in our spirit, and that does not make you demonic. So I believe that there are demons, absolutely. Don't like to think about it, but I have come up against them. They're ugly, they're nasty, and they're not fun to have to deal with. But I don't believe that according to the entertainment, you know,
Yeah.
industry, or, you know, all these haunted ghost shows.
Everything's a demon.
Everything's a demon. Oh my God, it's a demon. It's a demon. Yeah, no. And if they could get rid of them as easy as they do on TV, life would be so much easier when you do come across them.
What about you, Jamie?
Well, Kaz, you know about, you know a bit probably about my background, maybe from
Yes, I do.
The other show. And only growing up as a very prescient kind of child and being able to see and understand things that other people don't understand,
Yeah.
you know, that already like sets you apart. So there were people that would tell my grandparents and guardians, she's evil. Something's wrong with her. You need to take her to the church and get her sorted out. Like, she understands things about people and she reveals awkward things about people. And, you know, but was always able to immediately discern someone's kind of what they're carrying with them. If you want to say they're spirit, are they vile and volatile, are they loving, are they safe? Like, I'm super sensitive to that. And so then, having been so much time in Africa and Haiti, in places where there is a lot of, like, if you want to call it spiritual warfare, like, I have seen things that would just scare the shit out of people. I mean, there are no like logical kind of explanations. And I think entities are different. I don't think everything is demon. I think they're all kind of different spiritual beings. Yes. So no, I don't think everything is demonic, but yes, there are demons, and you know, and there are other entities. And you know, I believe that when we die, you know, our spirit is that energy there too. And I tend to agree that if we were, I don't like good and bad, but if we were good when we were living, you know, that kind of carries over. And if we were just, you know, hell on earth, then that's what you get. You know, there are no surprises. But as far as demons, I believe they're very specific. I believe they exist. Yes, I have encountered them. They have no problem manifesting right in front of me, because they know that I'm already when they come into my space. So
they like to do that. They like to do that because they like to challenge.
Yes,
you know, and that's I'm sorry, Kaz, but I got to bring this up too, because Jamie brought this up, and what you said it key. There's things that people don't understand. So when people go out to do, you know, ghost research, or go out to, you know, ghost hunt, or do whatever it is they're doing, things like the Haitians, the religions that are there on the islands, or here in the States, I won't even go down to New Orleans because I don't want to deal with Louisiana's voodoo stuff. Okay, there's stuff that you don't know about. You don't mess with it. And I think that's what people need to know. There is good and evil things out there. And you don't want that stuff to attach to you and go home. So don't call it, don't challenge it. And if you feel uneasy, leave.
Yeah,
Here's the
everything is
thing.
not
Go ahead, Jamie,
to
sorry.
dabble in. I said everything is not for us to dabble in. I think, we're given certain gifts, if you will, that we can understand things that some people don't. And I think it just takes a lot of effort and work to clean up other people's train wreck when they go dabble into something that they're not supposed to, but they're just so curious. And it's like, that's not your calling. That's not what you're supposed to be doing, but you're so curious. You just have to know. And now I have to clean that up. And I don't appreciate it. So
here's the thing, ladies. There's good and bad energies. We agree on that. Right, I've got a specific bad energy who is said to prey on people who are in emotional turmoil and trauma. What are your views on the Hat Man?
Oh my God. Okay, I wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah, but he seems to appear when people are in the lowest of the lows. Do you know what I mean?
But that's when they all appear.
Right.
Yes.
That no entity comes like when we're just doing well and when we're happy and when we have so much positivity.
Okay, I'll give you that.
They're predatory. They're going to win. And they can totally break you and defeat you. That's parasitic. Those kind of things are very parasitic. And I think people working in hospitals and things, and I don't like psych nursing at all. I don't even bother that at all. And so, but
I'm laughing because I did it for 12 years and I see you at Children's Hospital. So
yeah. And I'm like, what in the hell? Like, I'm walking through the halls, and it's why I had to leave the hospital, leave nursing in the hospital, because I'm so open to everything that's in there. You think people have died in there and people have been abused and mistreated, and you're feeling all that as you're walking through, and it just feels like walking through a crowd of zombies where they're all trying to eat your brain. That's what it feels like for me when I go into a hospital or a nursing home, and I'm like,
oh my God, that's the
hell.
thing.
So when you go into the psych ward and people are really hurting and they're so broken already, the strangest things will attach to them. And you walk in the room, and it's like you're not in a room with them. It's like the description in the Bible of Legion, the many demons, the many spirits, the many evil spirits. It's like you walk into the room and everyone's like, hello, we're here to try and eat your soul. It's like, oh, thank you. Well, we're not going to have that today. I'm here to medicate my patient so she can stop being tormented, by all of you. And that's what it feels like for me. And so it's, that's very, very hard. So when you say that, but to me, and I'm someone that can walk through a hospital and see everything around me. You know what I mean? And you see,
but it's not, but it's not all bad. Okay. I mean, I saw the ugly stuff.
Right.
And I think part of it as well, and Jamie, I would think that this as well. It's you have to protect yourself, especially when you are the type of people that you and I are. Mm-hmm. You have to put up protection around you. You have to remember that and always stay positive. But I can tell you just as much cruddy stuff that I saw while I worked there for 12 years. Right. I saw just as much amazing and beautiful and wonderful stuff. Right. So
there are beautiful things. Like, I always enjoyed helping people that were dying to transition, which kind of gave me the nickname, like, oh, here comes the Grim Reaper, here comes, the nurse of death, or whatever they called me, and it's like, oh, here she comes. Someone's going to be dead today. And I'm like, oh, shut up. But no, there's like beauty in that. And some things and entities are ready to transition. And sometimes that's our job. And it can be beautiful. It can be very beautiful. Yes, I see beautiful, wonderful, glorious things too. But because Kaz asked about the what she did, that's why I brought up those entities.
But
yes,
that's part of it too for cats.
It is
You
part
guys
of
need
it.
to protect. Yeah, you need to protect yourself.
Have you ever
just
gone
as
into a
well.
location, ladies, where you literally went to walk in and you were just stopped?
Yeah, I've
Yes.
gone
I've
into
had that.
locations where I've been stopped, and I've gone into locations where I turned around and said, "Oh hell no, I'm not doing this again."
Yeah.
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 No.
So
Like
was that an evil feeling? Was it a bad feeling? Was it just a you shouldn't be here feeling?
my body lets me know right away. I mean, not only the spirit realm lets me know right away, but I
Yeah.
know that I have guardians too, that, they're always fighting for me. But I think that one of my gifts is that, and I think a lot of people do this, like with flight or fight response. I'm sure you know what that is, both of you. All these things start going off in your body, like your heart rate increases. Now, it could be just fear, but it's more than that. It's like, okay, am I safe? Am I, do I anticipate getting out of this alive? All these things. Like, I have very key things that when it starts happening to my body, I know, like, if my, for me personally, like if my breathing's changed or I start hearing anything like auditory, or I feel like my heart's going to stop, which it has. It's taken little pauses, and I know I'm done. It's like supposed to be in here, and sometimes I'll just hear like, almost audible, like this, no, get out.
Yes.
You're not supposed to, like,
Yeah.
be.
Well, Kaz, here's my
What about you,
question
Bear?
to you. Here's my question to you.
Oh, wow.
When you go to this place, okay, because I know you're speaking of specific issues or times, are you prepared to go in?
Yes.
Or are you prepared to deal with what it's there and you're equipped to deal with it's there and you know what happens if you're not?
Yes, I will do as much as I can.
And you're willing to take that risk.
Yes,
That's
I will do
choice.
as much as I can, but my spirit guides are quite awesome, actually. 2 locations I can think of that I actually went to walk into, and I was rooted to the spot. It was like a glass wall just literally went down in front of me, and I wasn't allowed to walk any further, and I was just stood there going, I can't go any further. So
Wow.
my spirit guides are quite good like that. They'll just slam a wall down and go, you're not going out. So
Right.
And that's what we all have to listen to. You know,
Yes,
that inner voice, that inner
Both times I left.
intuition. Yeah.
Yes.
We all have to listen to that, whether we're equipped for it or how far we're willing to push that envelope. And I think that, those are real issues. We talked, what was it? It was a couple weeks ago. You guys were talking about protection and all that.
Oh, yes. We were talking about
Somebody
crystals,
made
protection.
a comment, and I won't mention a name, but mentioned a comment that it was protection and all that kind of stuff is just, it's a matter of mind over matter. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I beg to differ with that.
Sorry.
I've had a few people say that.
I beg to differ with that.
Like,
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
You can have a strong fortitude and a strong mind, and that you have to,
Yes.
actually, to survive this kind of thing that all of us are, involved in different levels. You have to be strong. There's no doubt that we're already strong, but you have to be wise, and you have to want to live on the other side of it. Like, it's more than just, oh, I'm going to go into this investigation because because I want to do it and I want to do this. It's like, no, you have to use more wisdom than that. And you have to consider, like, what is my life going to be like on the other side of this? Because some people don't come out ever the same on the other side of it. So you better be prepared and covered, and and have people even like intercessing for you, whether that be prayer, whether it be, different chanting, meditation, calling, to the spirits. You have to have lots of protection. You don't walk into that naked. Like, you don't leave your baby in the middle of the forest and walk away and say, well, I'm going to be back for you in 8 hours.
You're not going
No,
to do
you don't
that.
Right. So you need lots of preparation, and you need to know like where your strengths are and what your spiritual strengths are, and you better know what you believe in. and
Here's the thing, ladies.
if that, yeah.
When we talk about the paranormal field and investigating, do you feel that people tend to chase after the darker energies?
Yes.
And there is darker energies within the field. It's just there all the time. People are chasing poltergeists or demons or whatever way you want to
find some other things to do. I think you need balance. Like, as we're talking about good and evil, you need some balance. Like,
yes.
Have you met people that they're just macabre and they just go only after the dark and everything around them? I mean, they don't realize that they've turned into essentially what they're chasing.
Yeah.
It's like you're just chasing yourself because you have become so just tainted and dark and whatever you want to call it, unholy, like just a black soul. They don't even realize that they're looking for things that are like themselves. I mean, I think that you have to look for the good in what people would call miracles or the holy or the awakenings. Like, without that, you have to have balance in this. You just can't be somebody, well, I'm going to go fight evil people all the time. And I'm, just our whole body tell us that we can't do that. Like, if you have a human who they're only like just doing bad things, just only feeding their body bad things, well, it dies. You have to feed your body good things, and you have to have water, and you have to have air, and you have to have food. You have to have this balance around you. You can't just take on, because people would get that adrenaline rush. I want to go see some scary stuff, some dark stuff. It's like, well, you may not recover from that because I don't think we're inclined to always be seeking out evil. Like, we have to have some good.
But here's the thing. Do we need to have that balance, Bear? What do you think? There's good and there's evil. We need to have that balance. There's always got to be a balance.
I think there always will be. I don't know that if it has to be that way. I think there always will be a balance because life would be boring without it, and that's why we're here, is to experience life.
Yeah.
I have to mention down here, Gary Rudd. I'm actually in the chat room. I made it. And
I saw you.
See, yay! Okay, so Gary Rudd put something up about what demons have you come against? Yes. What happened? I can tell you, Gary, I at least from my Native American roots and training with my elders, I'm not going to say their name out loud. And I don't think it's something that people need to mess with if they aren't trained for it. My elders were definitely trained for it. I learned a lot from them, but I know what I came across the last one that I came across was so old and evil. Mm-hmm. It was really destroying this person's life and family life. So I don't think what demons have you come against, it's like gone demons that are away from our kind of, you know what I'm saying, Jamie? You know what I'm saying, right?
Oh, yes,
they're just not something to be fooled with. And, it's just not something I would say, oh, yeah, I'm going to tell you this demon is blah, blah. I can tell you, because I don't want to talk about it, it was real. Yeah. It was real ugly. It was real nasty. And it took months of working with this particular person to rid their life of it. So, yeah, not something you want to, no.
And I will add in, I also do not name demons or entities that I've come across. I don't even, because there's a, I don't fear them, but there's a reverence there and respect that, like, I call that to me unnecessarily, because they, no doubt, wherever they are, now. They know who I am, and they know, and some have revisited in different ways, like working overseas. I tend to encounter things that cause people great physical distress and pain.
Yep.
And illness, and they know that I was born to be a healer on every level, and so they know that. And I have suffered great abroad with things from, like, if we were going into a village to help people, I would tell some of the people we brought with us, like the kids and different things that came on the trip. I'm like, they're like, well, we want to pray for this family, and we want to give them food, and we want to donate their medicine. And I was like, okay, but this person, I'm going to ask you not to touch them physically, because I knew what I was looking at. I knew I wasn't looking at anything you could just find in my nursing handbook or any medical handbook. It was more than that. It was more than just physical ailment. And I would tell the kids, no, I'm going to ask you to step outside. And I have been so horrifically attacked by things that were evil. I will just say flat out evil, that I have been, like, in the hospital, comatose, and suffering from the very ailments that I tried to release and that I came across. Wow. So what person was carrying completely latched on to me and tried to do the same thing. And I was saved and delivered from that because I was prepared, and I had other people fighting on my behalf. So yeah, demons are real. It's not like,
this is the thing in the UK, Jamie. I mean, I haven't come across one. So
thankfully,
I have a problem.
Be thankful for that.
I am thankful for that, but this is the thing, Bert. I'm happy to say there's dark energies, malevolent energies, there's evil energies, but I have a problem with the word demon.
Okay, I'll tell you this, Kaz.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever come up against one,
yeah,
you won't worry about what its name is.
I'll call you.
You won't worry about it. Yeah, no.
Sure.
You will. There will be no question in your mind. And this goes back to what we said earlier. They're not around every corner. But this is not something that you want to call out. And people think it's a joke, or people think it's entertainment. And I'm not saying you, but this is a general consensus.
Right.
And, it's not something to be toyed with. I'll tell you what. When I worked with this particular client, and Gray we were just talking about it, he said, wouldn't it be better to record it as evidence? Heck no. Yeah. You don't want to capture anything like that, okay? Mm-hmm. And when I came across it, and she was on the phone with me, it blasted me, like, through the phone. Wow. And came into my presence that I had never been in my life so scared as I was at that moment. I sent it back, but it wasn't gone. I mean, I had to get hold of my elders, and like I said, we had to do 6 months worth of work, healing work with her. We had, like I said, my elders were involved, and it's still there. Gray's like, so how did you dispel it? Okay. It took work. It took a lot of work. And any good demonologist, and there aren't, people think they're around the corner everywhere you look too, but they're not.
They're not.
And the few people that have studied and worked with them, this is not something that you can do on your own. I can tell you that. They suck your energy. They put you to despair. They give you suicidal thoughts. They destroy your life. And if you think they're false, all I can tell you, like I said, Kaz, is I hope you never come up across a real one.
I agree with Bear completely. And just imagine, this is a good concrete analogy. Imagine being struck by lightning, but you're not. You're hit by the lightning. What generally happens to those people when they're hit? If they don't die, there's just years of recovery. They're hit by all that and energy.
And they're never the same.
They're never the same. Their brain is not the same. Their body
Yeah.
functioning is the same. Their mind, their thoughts, nothing is the same. And you know what? They also are open for whatever reason.
And we've all seen
to being
people like
struck
that.
again.
We've all seen people who've been
Once
drastically
you're
changed.
like that, you're open to it. It's hard to ever just not be. That's why you hear those weird stories. Like this guy was struck by lightning, and then 25 years later he was struck again, because like you're now open to it, and you're never the same afterward. You're not whole after something like that happens. It literally, I believe, takes a part of you. And so I don't go demon hunting. Like I will be involved in a
Hey Jamie, let's get together and take that Uber and go find us a demon.
I'm just gonna say no.
Yeah, no.
Actually, so it's like no, but like if I'm in your presence or we would ever do something together, and I tell you like, what, something's really not right here, and I don't mean a ghost, I don't mean someone's residual energy or spirit left over, I mean something from the core of hell is here. Like I'm gonna tell you right away. It's like and then I would identify to my knowledge and try and tell you what you're dealing with, but I don't mess around with that kind of stuff. That's not the kind of experience I'm looking for.
Here's the thing, ladies. But do we agree there needs to be that balance?
I don't think you can survive it without balance.
There needs to be good, there needs to be evil. We have had countless people we could count as evil, I suppose. We've had Adolf Hitler, we've had so many dictators, whatever. Do you know what I mean? They're all over the place. But we have to have that balance. We have people like Mother Teresa, who's one end of the spectrum. You have Adolf Hitler, the other side of the spectrum. You need to have that balance.
If you didn't have that balance, excuse me, coughing my head off here.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. But if you don't have that balance, you wouldn't know what was good or what was evil.
Yeah, that is very true.
And that's a different kind of vulnerable. And I think sometimes like people like us are called in to be guardians for people like. And I think it manifests in ways we can see it, like people that are born with certain disabilities and problems, and they're kind of neutral in the world. They're not inherently evil, but anything that sustains life knows how to preserve its life. I mean, our bodies are designed to sustain life, so like when one organ shuts down a little bit, others will compensate. Our bodies are designed that way. So I think the mind is definitely that way too. And I'm very protective of people that are very vulnerable, whether it's spiritually, physically, emotionally. I'm I'm such a guardian for people that can't fight for themselves. And so I think there are people like us that exist for people like them, to bring awareness and to protect people that can't quite, keep up with all of the craziness around us, is that good or evil, and to bring balance. My one friend, she refers to me, she's like, geez, she's like, Jamie, you're like the regulator. She's like, you'll come in there and you'll get shit balanced out right away. It's like, okay, well, I don't want too much, because people can get so wrapped up in goodness that it becomes false and insincere, and that's a different type of evil, actually. I mean, you want to have people that are who don't want to bring harm to other people, and for me, that's as good as I ask. I don't expect perfection or people to be overly nice. I prefer sincerity. Like if you're disingenuous, I'm gonna to me, that's as bad as just being evil. It's like, okay, don't be deceptive, So yes, the balance is why we survive, I think.
Bear.
Yes.
So, what do you think, the paranormal field? Do you think we need to embrace that there's going to be good and bad? Or good and evil?
I think for sure we have to embrace all of it if we want to learn more about it. You know, paranormal is things that we can't explain. There's no, excuse me, scientific, yeah, I'm fine. Scientific proof one way or the other, you know, like showing, this is an absolute.
Yeah.
So I think as long as we're alive, people have questions. They want to learn. They want to grow.
Yes.
So I think good and bad, you know, I kind of like to take away the word evil. You know, there's a story of two wolves, and I'm sure you both heard it, and I'm sure many of the readers have heard it.
It depends
and
which
it's
one
all
you feed.
about which one you feed.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
And I agree with Jamie. You know, everything can't be rose-colored glasses all the time. People like that make me want to throw up.
Yeah.
You know, it's like birth, right? You give birth to a baby.
Yep.
That baby's beautiful, but man, it hurt like hell getting it into this world.
Yeah.
There's
And then you've got
joy
all
in-
the late feeds and the night feeds and the crying and the screaming and the teething and
Good and bad, you know?
Yeah.
It's all good and bad. So I don't like to
Everything's a
necessarily call it evil, but I think there's, I always say good, bad, and indifferent, you know? So it's like, it's going to be what it's going to be.
Well, do you know what? Talking to babies, I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I'm gonna. I just want to say a very well done to Olivia, my Olivia, because she got her GCSE results and she got A's and B's across the board. She's a happy little
Awesome.
camper.
Yeah.
And I am so relieved because now she's not wearing holes in the ceramic tiles anymore.
I saw that. You can breathe now.
I can breathe now, so can she.
That's awesome.
But there's a lot of kids in the UK today who've went and got their exam results, and it's been a whole new exam. It's been very hard for them, and I hope you're all breathing now. Because the poor kids were all on edge. Bless them.
I'm glad I don't have to go through that myself anymore.
Oh no, I've got another one starting this year. Oh God, got to do it all over again. Anyway,
When I
ladies-
went back and did college, man, I was like, why did I do this again? Why am I finishing college?
Right.
But the
Yeah.
thing is, ladies, we have been talking about this for an hour.
Wow. And we didn't even get to talk about the shadow people for Ness. I'm sorry.
Talk about the shadow people. Go for
Yeah,
it,
the
Bear.
shadow.
Go for it.
Okay. She had asked about
I'm
is
gonna
the
let Bear
Hat
talk.
Man, the Hat Man. What do you think of the Hat Man? Well, over here in the U.S., they call him the Shadow Man. You know, and I often think it's spirit that we catch out of the corner of our eyes. You know, that you're not seeing directly in front of you. I believe it's kind of the same thing, good and evil, or good and bad. You know, it can be negative, it can be good. I've seen them as spirits of people that have passed. I've seen them as spirits that are transitioning or just transitioned.
Right.
But do I think they're coming to get me? The Hat Man? No, I don't think the Hat Man's coming to get me. You know, again, it's all about protection and how you deal with stuff. But that's just my opinion.
That's the thing. I mean, there's some people who don't believe in protection. They think it's just a state of mind. And there's people like me and you, Bear. Not sure about you, Jamie. But you have to protect yourself.
All the time in everything in life. It's not just
Exactly.
with this. Like, if you have to protect your human body, like, you wouldn't just, well, you might, but that's your business. But most people wouldn't just go have sex with some stranger. Put on your spiritual condom, people. You need protection. You can't go in there and expect.
Depends on how long I sat at the bar. No, I'm just kidding.
That's my new phrase now. Every time I'm going to go on an investigation, Jamie, I'm going to tell people to put on the spiritual condom.
Yeah,
Like, you're not going to just, like, are you going to eat without washing your hands? No. Well, you might, but protect yourself. I'm going to put on my seatbelt in the car. Maybe that would have been a nicer thing to say than put on your condom. But it's really the truth. You don't want to come out with disease, infection, parasites, problems. Put it on. You need the protection.
I actually like that phrase, spiritual condom. There you go, Kerry. That's a new one. Spiritual condom. Put it in the dictionary.
There you go, Ness. That's for Ness. She can take a spiritual condom with her when she's worried about the shadow man or the hat man.
There you go.
Right, ladies, it is such a pleasure talking to both of you. We haven't even scratched the surface of this. We could go on about this for another hour, but...
Anytime. Lots of fun. I enjoyed talking. And see, we didn't even kill each other. Can you imagine that?
I know. And there was some people thought this would turn into a bad discussion.
Yeah,
Why would they think that?
Well, I could think of a few names, but I can't mention them on air, or somebody would probably come and smack me.
We'll all get into trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't be doing that. Anyway, ladies, all it remains for me to say is, remember everyone, you can always listen to Parasearch Radio on YouTube. You can find us on Podbean, you can find us on SoundCloud, you can find us on Twitter, you can find us on, obviously, the Facebook page. You can find us as well on Instagram. We're everywhere. You have no excuses. But... as always, 1,000 thanks to Bear Medicine Walker and to Jamie Krashna. You're awesome, ladies. Thank you for joining me on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, our pleasure.
Right, ladies, say goodnight.
Good night, ladies.
Good night.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.